Hello and welcome to Those Forking Fangirls, where we talk all things nerdy book, TV, movie, pop culture, fandoms, and how they integrate into our adult lives. I'm Christine.
And I'm Natasha.
And today we're playing teacher, English teacher specifically. I think as huge readers, we've all had fantasy thoughts about what we would teach in our own English class if we were heading one. Mm-hmm. And today we're putting together our dream English class syllabus. We're not taking it too seriously. So please do not take it too seriously.
Yes, please.
It's a lighthearted, not very heavy discussion about what there should probably be other stuff we're teaching, obviously. That this is the fun fangirl version of what we'd want to teach in our English class. But there's a lot of stuff that will be left out of our syllabuses because we're going sillier, not seriouser. And to help us do that, Natasha, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah. We have a special guest with us, one of our amazing patrons, Sam. We got to know Sam a lot at Forks because she is up from that area. But can you introduce yourself and your age and what you do and what your favorite fandoms are?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam. I'm 23, and like Natasha said, I live in Washington State. I live about 3 hours south of Forks, closer to Seattle. And I'm in my third year of pursuing a degree in elementary education. And then my favorite fandoms are Twilight, Taylor Swift, Percy Jackson, Hermione, and a video game called Stardew Valley.
Oh my God, a lot of people love that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Is it one of those cozy games?
Yeah. Although
yes,
it can be stressful too.
I think Reagan plays that a lot. And yeah, so Sam is in her third year of getting a degree in elementary education. So we thought she would be perfect to do this fantasy English teacher prompt. And I just glancing at her answers, they're much more thorough and teacherly than mine are. So I'm really glad we've got her here for this discussion. She is our professional today. Before we get into that, we're going to roll on into Snap, Crackle, Pop Culture News. And the first thing I have on the dock today dropped, I think, right after we recorded our past episode. And that is the first trailer for the Joker Folie à Deux. I don't know how to pronounce the title there, but because it looks French and I always pronounce French especially wrong. But the first trailer is so fucking perfect. It's so good. It looks like dark, twisted La La Land for the mentally unwell. And I am so excited. It looks like my exact jam.
Okay, I was really excited about it. I didn't love the first one. But I was
What?
Yeah.
How?
Okay, perspectively, it was a phenomenal film. It made me feel so icky, and that's why I didn't like it.
I loved it. Okay.
No, I could. At the very end, I was like, no, I can't do this. And then I heard that it's a jukebox musical, so they're using songs that have already they didn't make any original songs, which I'm okay with, but I wanted some original stuff.
I think it'll be better without original stuff for this topic.
I watched the trailer and I was so excited. I love Lady Gaga. But then I also it made me realize I don't remember the first movie at all. I watched it in theaters when it came out and I haven't seen it since. And I'm I need to rewatch this because I don't understand
the first movie. Yeah, rewatch the first movie. The first movie is such a raw look at how shitty our mental health system is and how that affects people who are mentally unwell and everything. And it's such a dark, twisted film. It makes you feel a lot of different things about society. And I love that, but it is uncomfortable because of how dark it gets. So I definitely understand what Natasha's saying, but I really loved it. And I am excited to see Lady Gaga in this role. I feel like this is the role that she was like born to play. Like this is her vibe. Like
they look great together on screen. They look like a real couple, I feel like.
Yeah. Harley Quinn is totally her vibe in like her like performance art a lot of the time. So I'm like, I don't want to say poker face, but that just came to mind first because of like the dressing style, but like the way that she talks about fame and how it can drive you basically batshit feels so relevant. And she's always been such a proponent for mental health, and she's such an amazing performer and entertainer. So I'm so excited to see her in this
Joker face, Katie says.
Oh my God. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about this shot, and it was a perfect shot where she comes to the jail to visit the Joker, I forget his name in the actual film, and she's like, I want to see you in your, like, the way you naturally are, and she draws lipstick on the glass and he lines up with it.
Yeah, it's fucking good.
It's a great shot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are at all excited about the Joker, I would check out that trailer. It's beautiful. What do you have for us this week, Natasha?
Henry Cavill is becoming a dad. This just dropped this morning. Yeah.
Just like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. All my favorite men are becoming dads. So he and his longtime girlfriend, I think they've been together since 21. So
it's
about
been a while.
3 years.
Yeah.
I follow her. Her name's like Nicole, I think. Anyways, she works in the industry. In like at one of the studios, I think like Focus Features or something like that. Anyways, they just announced that she's pregnant. So happy for them.
Wow.
I mean, I'm a little dead inside. It's fine. Literally the other day, it was like 2 days ago, and I saw a picture of them out and about. I'm like, this is supposed to be me. I think that was yesterday, actually.
Katie says the jawline this baby is about to have. Accurate.
Too true.
Accurate. That's exciting and sad for you, Natasha. Sam, do you have something for us this week?
Yeah, I watched the new Bridgerton trailer, the official one.
Nice.
I wasn't sure if... Have you guys seen that one?
Oh, yeah.
I don't watch trailers.
I feel like it's just made me so much more excited because I feel like I can see the direction of the season. Like, I feel like the teaser clips before, like, we knew kind of, like, what was going to happen, but the trailer really just kind of, like, set it all up, I feel like.
It did, and I was like... I had all these thoughts. I'm like, oh, wait, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and then the trailer kind of, I'm like, oh... I did a whole reaction, but I never posted it because it's like 3 minutes long. But yeah, the trailer kind of sets it up, and I don't know how I felt about it because I was like, oh man, I kind of wish I didn't want it, but I wanted to watch it, but you know.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really glad I didn't watch it. I am so excited, but I don't want to see any trailers. So Coachella happened over this past week, and we have to talk about, there's so much good stuff coming out of Coachella as always there, but first and foremost, today in Taylor Swift news at Coachella, Taylor and Travis were at Coachella together and dancing together, and he was like behind her dancing with her and like
picking
just
her
vibing. It was so cute. All the clips from them were just like the most adorable thing I've ever seen.
Just kicking my feet and giggling all weekend.
Yes. Natasha, did you see these?
Yeah, I did. I was watching a few of them, but then I felt like I was too much in their bubble.
What?
But I know that they were in public, so it's fine. But I felt like, oh, I feel like I shouldn't be watching this.
Intruding?
Yeah.
They were like straight up with a big crowd of people
I know.
watching their friends perform. But Taylor was wearing this like green baseball cap, which was so cute, and she had it on backwards. I loved it.
She looked really cute. I saw someone say that there was a part where she looked up, or she smiled, and she looked like she was 16 again. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
I feel like I was like, I don't know if it's because she wasn't wearing as much makeup or like red lipstick from her tour, but I feel like she looked so young and like youthful in these like clips of her in the crowd.
It's just like happiness. Like she's just happy and glowing, and it's so cute. And also, okay, so Taylor's new album comes out this fucking week, 3 days. Okay, so there is an installation that was that has been put up in the Grove for the Tortured Poets department. That I don't know if she's gonna be like visiting at like 4:19 p.m. or something, because it comes out at 4:19. But it's there today, tomorrow, and the next day. So by the time this comes out, it'll be over. I'm debating if I should go, but like I don't know how crowded and crazy it's gonna be over there.
Probably so crowded and crazy.
I know, but it's for 3 days, so will it be crowded and crazy every day? It depends if she shows up. She probably wouldn't show up to the last day then, I would think, if she does show up.
I had a friend who was there. He got in line at 6 a.m. and he said he was the 10th person in line. So,
oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I wonder, but like, this is the thing. It'll be chill until she shows up, and then the whole world will be there. So I don't know. Did they like the installation?
Yeah, it looked cool. It was like all gray and sepia colors. I don't know. It just looked like a photo backdrop, honestly. And then like some clues.
Oh, that's disappointing. Okay.
Not what I was expecting.
No, I was expecting like a pop-up library.
I mean, it was like a library. Like that's what it was, but it was like for photos.
Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, so Taylor Swift was spotted filming a music video. Very exciting for probably the Tortured Poets department.
She looked very like Reputation.
She did. But she might be doing different
characters.
Characters, or like Reputation is when she met Joe, so we'll see what type of story she's telling there. And Pop Tings reported that Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets department is reportedly very similar to Reputation in Red. The songs range from big pop hooks to 2000s soft rock ballads similar to Holy Ground and All Too Well, which is very exciting for me because Red and Reputation are two of my favorite albums.
Those songs are, if they're anything like those songs, it's going to be an amazing album.
I mean, it's going to be an amazing album, period. It's a breakup album. Like, it's going to be great.
I thought it was going to be more like, I was like surprised to hear that because I thought it was going to be more like slower. Not like folklore. I think the color scheme was just throwing me off a little bit.
I mean, I think it will have a folklore feel too, but like I think like maybe the style of the music is less folky, but I feel like the vibe of the lyrics is going to be similar to folklore.
The lyrics that she's been like releasing, I'm like, what kind of like how is she singing this line though?
Well, that's the thing. Whenever she releases lyrics, it's like it doesn't mean anything until we hear her sing it.
Exactly.
I mean, it means something, but it means something completely different sometimes when we hear her sing it in the context of whatever else she's saying. But yeah, it's just like Slut. Like we can't have really expectations for how it's gonna sound until we hear it. But okay. Also at Coachella, there is this new emerging artist that is really starting to blow up called Chappell Roan. Is that how you pronounce her name?
I think so.
Okay.
No.
Because I've never.
Oh, it's not?
What is it?
Chappell.
Oh,
It's
what?
Chappell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chappell Roan. I've never heard people say it out loud.
I've been saying Chappelle.
I know, it just looks like Chappelle, but it's Chappell. Okay. So Chappell Roan, and she's giving like Lady Gaga meets Florence and the Machine, and I fucking love it. And I've been seeing her bits and pieces of her performance on TikTok all weekend, and I loved it. And she has a song that's been going viral on TikTok, Good Luck Babe, her new song. But I really love Casual, and I really love Feminine Nominum. And I've been listening to those two like over and over again, and Red Wine Supernova.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite is Phenomenon, and I've been like, it's been stuck in my head. It's like, get it light, get it hot. It's so fun. And now I'm gonna listen to everything she's ever written.
Yeah, you have to listen to Hot to Go. That's the one that it's like I'm like blasting it in my car like anytime the sun is out. I like roll down my window. Nice. Oh yeah, I listened to Pink Pony Club and My Kink Is My Karma, Katie. I haven't listened to them enough because I kept just re-listening to Phenomenon and dancing around.
I like Hot to Go. That's like one of my favorites too. I followed her thinking that she was an influencer like maybe a year and a half ago because she's got the like coquette type of like Marie Antoinette look, and I loved her hair and her makeup, and I'm like, oh, she's cool. I'm going to follow her. And then I just started seeing her like randomly pop up, and then my Spotify recommended her songs a couple months ago. And no, love her. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's got a beautiful voice, and she's got like really fun, spunky lyrics, and it's beautiful. All right. Do you have anything else for us, Natasha?
Love Stereo tickets are still on sale. Go grab yours.
Go grab yours. Natasha's throwing a romantasy ball in
June.
You have to give 21st. Some more details. Just in case they don't know.
June 21st. We did Disneyland all day yesterday, and I'm struggling over here.
Well, we're back to work today.
I know. I'm in a lot of pain. That's the issue. No, so yeah, I'm putting on a romantasy ball in February in LA, and
in June.
And it's gonna
not
be
February.
Sorry, again, my brain.
It's April.
Anyways, check it out in the show notes below.
All right, and one last thing, my book is coming out in like exactly a month when this comes out, which is so soon. Yeah, it's going to be the 19th when this comes out. The book comes out May 21st, and it is a Survivor-esque rom-com. It's so fun. I'm in love with it. I hope you all love it too. And if you are interested in reading it, pre-ordering it is extremely, extremely helpful for my career and the launch of the book. So I would really appreciate your support in that way. The link is in the show notes. You could pre-order it in any way that you like to read. So you can pre-order the ebook or the audiobook or the hard copy, whatever floats your boat, or Kobo, or, all the different reading apps have it. And I will be doing some events. I still just don't have like the solidified list. So I am going to announce it as soon as I do. I've only announced the one in LA, which is on May 22nd at the Ripped Bodice at 7 p.m., which I'm so excited. Natasha will be moderating. But the other ones I will hopefully be announcing like next week. I'm just waiting for the go ahead. The solidified list. But I'm super excited.
I am so excited.
It's gonna be so fun. To see all y'all IRL, hopefully in different places. What was it? Oh my gosh, Katie, that's so exciting. Katie just said, pretty sure we're doing Ask for the Forking Fangirls book club in June. That's so exciting.
Aw. I didn't know you guys had a book club. That's cool.
Yes, you did. She told us about it. Remember?
I remember.
It's just been a while since we talked about it.
Okay.
But yeah, and oh my God, when this comes out, the poets Tortured Poets Department is going to be out.
Yeah.
Next week we're talking Poets Department. We're doing an episode on the Tortured Poets Department, so get ready. I'm excited. But anyway, attached to the hip. Link in the description, show notes. If you haven't pre-ordered it yet, and you're interested, it's there. Yay! All right, so we're gonna move right on into our main discussion with Sam today. But first, I want to take a second to thank everyone out there listening. We appreciate you being here with us so much. if you're not already, we would love it if you follow the podcast in your favorite podcast listening app for free. And if you like the visual version of the show, hello, there's a visual version of the show on YouTube every single week. Hi, youtube.com/@thosworkingfangirls. You could subscribe for free there and get the visual show every week so you never miss an episode. We're also on Instagram @thosworkingfangirls and TikTok @thosworkingfangirls. So you can follow us there for lots of fun updates. Chloe Laverson does our social media and she kills it. So you want to be following it. And we have a Patreon. We are a viewer-supported show, and if you want to support the show in a bigger way, we offer lots of fun perks over there. At the $5 tier, you get the show ad-free, which is beautiful, and we do an extra half an hour show at the end of every single episode called Fangirl Tea Time, where we dig into more personal stories that are happening in our lives. It's super fun. We love the community there. Natasha shared a really intimate story with us last week. And you don't want to miss that stuff. It's a fun time. We offer a free trial too, so you can try it out for 7 days, see if you like it, and if you do, you could subscribe. And if you want to subscribe annually, you save like 16%, which is cool. Yeah. And Sam is a team Polis Bananas. Wait, is that what we called it? Yes. Team Polis Bananas patron. I always want to say something else for that third tier. But that one of the awesome perks of that is going to be a guest on the show. It's fangirl bonding sessions at the end of every month. We all hang out. It's super fun. And you can find more information on that in the show notes.
And then the patrons get to watch our recordings live. And it's one of their favorite perks. One of Nicole's favorite perks. That in.
It's one of Nicole's favorite perks. She's here right now. Yeah. So the people who are talking live as we're mentioning them as we record are our patrons. And that is, again, from the $5 tier and up. You get to come to our recordings, hang out in the chat, comment, be a part of the conversation as we talk. It's great. We love the chat. It makes recording so much more fun.
It does. And I love everyone's input, and it's sometimes so helpful, especially when we can't remember a name.
Out loud. Yeah. They're so quick with it.
I know.
They are. They're hilarious in the chat. All right. We're going to move right on in here. Okay, so who wants to start us off, Sam or Natasha? We're going to go month by month with what the one book we would teach every month to our school, our class. I am saying all the wrong words. Our class would be. Let's start off with what grade you'd be teaching. So I'm going to teach 6th grade. Sam, what are you going to teach?
10th grade.
In our 10th grade, in our imaginary, not in her actual life.
You confused me for a second.
I know. Just Natasha.
I'm going to teach 12th grade. I changed it.
Seniors.
I feel like we should start with Christine and like work our way up.
Okay, you're the teacher, so
just because you're start like middle school, work our way up.
yeah, that makes sense. That's very logical.
Was 6th grade in your middle school, or was it like in your elementary school? Mine was in my elementary school.
Middle school. It was the first year of middle school for me, and so I picked 6th grade because I was torn between 6th grade and high school. And since you guys are doing high school, I was like, okay, 6th grade is. I didn't want to do 4th grade because it's a little too youth for some of the things that I wanted to teach. And I was reading some of these books in 4th grade, but like it wasn't what the class was reading because they were a little like too hard and people wouldn't be reading them. I feel like the teachers wouldn't be reading them.
Oh,
but like
advanced reader
society. Because I was just reading everything I could find in the library. So like a lot of those books came out to be books we read like through middle school for classes. And I was like, oh, I've already read this.
Wow. You were that girl.
I was that girl. But my students are going to call me. I forgot to answer this question. You guys go first. So what are your students going to call you?
My students are going to call me Miss Tasha Polis.
Nice. What about you, Sam?
I'm of the belief in like this world and in real life, like as a teacher, I think I want to go by my first name because I feel like it puts us on like equal footing. I don't sometimes don't like the like power imbalance or like power struggles that teachers and students can get into. So I think I'm gonna go by Sam or Miss Sam if they really want to get formal with it.
Nice. Yeah. It's a weird like line to walk because you do need to like have authority over them. So you don't want them to like think of you as like a friend almost, but you want them to be open with you in that way, not be afraid to share.
I just feel like I got really intimidated by like teachers or like even professors in college were like, you have to call me doctor and that's it. And just made them feel really unapproachable to me.
Yeah.
And then teachers who were like, you can call me John or you can call me Kyle or whatever. I'd be like, okay, I know I can go to their office hours or go like if I need help after school, like they're chill, they're gonna be nice.
Katie says I'd be Professor. Oh my God, I've never said your last name. Valasek, even though I have no qualifications to be a professor. I feel like I would definitely want them to call me like probably like Miss something since I'm teaching 6th grade and I feel like 6th graders can easily take advantage of situation if you're not like pronouncing your authority over them.
Middle schoolers are scary.
Yes. So maybe like Miss 16 May. I do like that Miss Natasha Polis. Like it's just like a little bit more fun than having them call you like by your last name.
I feel like in like most situations I've been in, like working with students since I'm in elementary education, I'll be like working with kindergartners and they just call me teacher. Like they can't remember my name. They're just like teacher.
Katie says Miss Palmana's books, but that's way too long.
Yeah, that's really long.
So confused.
Shortened like in the Miss Poland.
The parents would be so fucking confused. Like, who the fuck is this teaching my kids? Poland Banana's books. Like, get out of here. All right. So my September book, I'm going to open the school year with teaching Holes because Holes really opened up my mind to an entirely new storytelling structure that I feel like really helped me craft more creative ways to write throughout my early years, and also just made me so much more interested in the act of writing. And it's also so fucking fun. Stanley Yelnats, like at Camp Green Lake, there was no lake at Camp Green Lake is the opening sentence, and I will never forget it. So if you don't know about Holes, it flips back and forth between two different timelines, this is the first time I read that. And I found it so cool and so interesting that we were learning about like, what was her name? Like Kissing Kate Ballinger or something. Kissing Kate Barlow. The woman who like was notorious for
Patricia Arquette's role.
Killing men and taking their money. But we learn about the origins of her in the backstory, and she was like this really kind-hearted teacher, but like her reputation in the lead story is that she was a murderer, and like figuring out how those two stories connect and stuff as like a 9-year-old was so cool. And her romance with Sam, it was so good. His name's Sam, right? With the onions.
Yeah,
so good. Yeah. It's just there's so much to discuss in that about storytelling structure. I think like my lessons for Holes, I had an English teacher, we all did, that changed my life, and had like the best, most fun class, and that was in high school. But he did this thing, and I think I would do it too, where like we'd get like the reading, and after every reading we'd have like a little pop quiz, but it wasn't a pop quiz because we all knew we were going to have a little quiz on the reading, and there would be 10 questions about the reading, but they'd be like fun, like, you know, 1 sentence answers or like 1 word answers. And then there would be 10 questions afterward that were extra credit. And some of them would be just like random fun facts about the world. And some of them would be like intricate details, like what's the date of this character's birth date and stuff. So it made me so much more excited to read. And I was reading so much more critically and like intensely because I didn't want to miss any of these little details because I had the chance to get like 120 on the quiz and I wasn't gonna miss it. So I think I would open the school year with like doing those little quizzes and like doing discussions about like writing structure and story structure with holes. Yeah. To get them excited. Holes. What about you, Sam? Your 10th grade class, September.
Okay. I had a hard time picking a grade because I was like, my books are kind of all over the place, but we're going to start the year with I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson.
Oh my God, what a beautiful starting story.
I just like, the concept for my class was like books that are going to like turn you into a fangirl, like books that will just like, or at least books that turned me, I feel like, into a fangirl.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is like one of them where it just like, it really stays with you and you keep thinking about it. And for people who don't know, haven't read this book, I know it was like, kind of popular a while ago. It's about like
2014.
Did it turn into a movie?
No. They turned into her other first book into a movie though.
Oh, okay.
But it's about like this like family, these like twins, and their one of their parents passes away, and so like we get to see the first half of the book is told through the brother Noah's perspective, and like all like how he deals with his like grief and like loss and like the journey he takes after experiencing like a hardship like that. And then it like switches halfway to his sister's point of view, and it's older, like there's a time jump, and we get to see like there's like all these secrets that are happening, and there were things that the kids never knew about their parents and didn't know about each other, and then it all comes clean, and it was
and it goes back to her, right? Like the perspective.
Yeah, I think
it switches again.
Yeah, but so for like the lessons, we're going to be talking about like coming of age and like finding your identity, because Noah is gay, but he's closeted, and he's really, really obsessed with this boy, but he doesn't want anybody to know. He's not telling anybody, and it's like really hurting him, and he's like making bad choices because of it. And so I thought we could do like a little class discussion on that. And then for like the end of book project would be like create an artistic representation of love, which can be interpreted to so many different ways, but art plays such a big role in this book. Because they're both artists, like the mom was an artist and both the kids are artists. And there's a sculptor, like a famous sculptor, so you could do like the kids could pick, or the students could pick, like making a
paper
sculpture
mache,
or like painting or drawing.
Oh, I love that.
And it could be like romantic love, it could be familial love, platonic love. They could take it in many different directions.
That's really fun. I love that. That book is so good. I forgot that it existed for like a second. It's been a second since I thought about it. And I never reread it because my first reading of it was so impactful that I didn't want to like tarnish it at all, but it's time.
I never read it.
It's so good,
It's
Natasha.
really good.
So
And you have a
good.
twin.
Yeah.
Is it trauma?
So they've lost their mom, I think.
Then no.
Yeah. But it's like the time jump, because it happens when they're kids, and then like they're learning more about their mom through like everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little close to home, so probably not.
Yeah. But it's also like a lot about siblings and how like they interact together and all that stuff. But that's really beautiful. Natasha, what are you going to teach in September to your 12th graders?
Okay, so technically, I think this is a college course, y'all, because this is what made me excited, and the type of things I picked for my students to read is a little adult. So just keep that in mind. And because it's not like a normal English class, because the idea that I had is this is the gateway to fan fiction. And
Not 101, Katie.
Because in high school, that's like what I discovered and how I discovered different representations and sexual orientations was all through fan fiction, and what made me excited to read, because it's such a comfort place to stick with your favorite characters and then read them in different settings. But so this is not like I have a whole reasoning. Okay, so in September, we are gonna start off with Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, and I think this is a must at the very beginning because this was like the start of my wanting to explore different or just starting my love of reading. And it's a little older for the 12th graders, but I wanted to start here and get them to see the possibilities of where the story.
Twilight was high schools reading. High schoolers are reading Twilight.
True,
right?
true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I read mine
And
you read
schoolers.
yours in college. Yeah. I read mine in like 8th grade.
I wasn't in college yet. I was 18.
Oh, okay. And kind of just start off with the history behind Twilight and start there. I don't have any book. I think I had one book project in my thing, but I didn't think too much about that. But I think I would have them read the first one, and then we would also like watch the movies as well, and then go into why the YA book section became so popular and what started, and it was like the pinnacle of starting that fan fiction journey for published authors now. So we would
Cool.
do
So
that.
it'd be like an intro to like the young adult world.
Yes.
Twilight is very much, I feel like, a gateway book into fan fiction. So it's like the perfect jumping off point.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. All right, so moving into October, for my 6th graders, we're going to tackle Clockwork Angel in October because I think it's really important to have fantasy books in the curriculum, and that's not something that every teacher did, but it's something that made me so much more excited about reading because until a teacher opens you up to the world of fantasy, you don't really know about it unless you have reader parents. I did not. Because I remember in 3rd grade, like the librarian reading us Harry Potter obviously changed my life. Like I went home and I was like, I need those books. And my teacher reading me excerpts from The Witches changed my life in 4th grade because I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this. Like I need to read more books about witches. And that was also when I was like, I got the wrong Harry Potter, so I never got to read more about witches until after that. When I got the right Harry Potter, I had the 3rd book. So I really desperately wanted to learn about it. So Clockwork Angel is like a completely different vibe, but still amazing and magical. I think we'd get to discuss. So in Clockwork Angel, there's a lot about like different biases and different like horrible societal issues that came out of those biases. Like we talk a lot about the reparations in Clockwork Angel. So there was one point where Shadowhunters would just fucking murder any like warlocks or any other species, and it was horrible, and they would keep different pieces of them in their house as like prizes and stuff. And I think that's like it's so disgusting, and it's so important to like talk about things like that because there's so much of that reflected in human history and how we would treat other people. And obviously that's really important, and it's really important to talk about how fantasy isn't just fantasy because a lot of people who aren't interested in fantasy don't realize that it's just a dark mirror of our own world, and it deals with all the real things we're dealing with just in fantastical elements thrown in, just like with a guise of a different world on top of it. So I think there's a lot of lessons in there. There's a lot about like traveling and like love. And I think that's important because we never get exposed to like love stories I didn't in English class because they're like girly, quote. The first one we got exposed to was Romeo and Juliet where they both fucking die. Sorry, what were you going to say, Natasha?
I mean, I read Pride and Prejudice like 9th grade, and then I think I remember reading like in 10th grade this like more romantic type of book. But it all ends in tragedy somehow.
I didn't. Yeah. Pride and Prejudice, I didn't get to read that till college. in like my women's lit class. And it's crazy that I had to take a women's lit class to read a book by a woman in my curriculum.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a big topic of like, I remember by the time like my senior year started, like my school was really small, so a lot of the people in our classes, like we would have them every single year, and I started AP English classes in 10th grade, and by the time we got to 12th grade, like we had not read like a single book by a woman. Like everything was by an old white man for 3 years. We were like, hello, can we please get something else on the rotation? It's wild. It just wasn't fun to read. Like I don't know, I didn't enjoy reading like the classical books. I much preferred going home and reading fantasy. And I feel like there's like merit to both, of course.
Yeah.
But one of them is gonna, you know, make me want to keep reading, and it's not like The Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. Nicole said she got Jane Eyre, which I think Jane Eyre is a very romantic story.
I didn't get Jane Eyre. I literally, like, even through middle school, I don't think we read. Is Louis Satcher a woman or is Louis Satcher a man? Because it could be Lois Satcher, and I've never actually looked it up. Or maybe I did and I forgot. Lois Satcher.
Man, no, I think Tiffany said.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the one that I was like, maybe.
Is that the author of The Giver?
It's the author of The Giver. He also wrote Holes.
Okay,
I think.
Right.
And Number of the Stars, which was also another beautiful book. But yes, a man. So never mind. Lois Lowry wrote The Giver and Number of the Stars. Lois Satcher wrote Holes. Louis Satcher wrote Holes. Is Lois Lowry a woman? Let's see. Lois Lowry. Okay,
She's
that's a woman.
Oh, I read The Giver.
She wrote The Giver.
I never read The Giver.
I think she wrote The Giver. You never read The Giver?
It was like required.
It was one that I read in the library, and then we did it for required reading in 8th grade, and I was like, hair flip.
You already read it. Okay.
Did you read all 4 of them, Christine?
No, I didn't know there were 4 of them. They only had the first one in my little library.
I got like the box set as like for like my 12th birthday or something, and I read all of them. They got kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
I think Gathering Blue, is that the second one? Something like that.
I think so. And then like Sun. Is Sun the last
one?
one?
I think I like
There's
realized
Messenger.
that there. Yes, I realized there were more like way after I'd read it, so I didn't like remember the details, so I never actually read those books. But anyway, okay. So Lois Lowry is the only one that I think like I remember that was a woman that I ever got to read books of before high school or before college. But anyway, so we would read Clockwork Angel. We would probably, I'd have them write like an essay about like their favorite character and how they relate to them in their everyday life, even though that they're a fantasy character. And even though like, and I'd try to get them to dig into something from the book that they realize is a mirror of the real world. Yeah, we talk about that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. What about you guys?
For October, I wanted to kind of lean into like spooky season a little, and I put down A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. She's kind of like newer. She wrote Juniper and Thorn.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I haven't read. This is the first one I've read by her. I think it's her YA debut novel, but it's like a dark academia kind of like mystery, and it's kind of spooky. And it's about like the main character. It's like set in like a fantasy world, like based on like old time. I don't know the time period, but like old time like England and Wales. And she is a student at the architecture college, but she wants to be a student at the literature college, but only men can go to the literature college. And then there's like a architecture competition for this famous author who just passed away, and she is like obsessed with this author, and she's like, okay, I'm in the architecture college, let me sign up for this. And she gets it, and they send her to his house, and she gets there, and there's a student already there from the literature college, a guy, and he's trying to like kind of debunk her favorite author and prove that he was a fraud. And she's like, what? This is my favorite author. Why would you do that? And she's there to like rebuild his house. It's like crumbling and falling apart, or like create a plan to rebuild his house. Oh. And it gets kind of spooky. And there's a fairy king that is, like, technically, it's like shrouded in like myth and like legend. And everyone's like, there's no such thing as the fairy king. And she's like, yes, there is. I've seen him. He took my finger. And everybody's like, no,
this is getting
you're crazy.
Like wild.
Wait, I thought this was like,
it is like going. It sounds like so grounded, and then it's like, wait,
fairy?
Yeah. So it kind of like there's like some like commentary on like, of course, like the historical treatment of women in school, and then there's also like mental illness, like how women with mental illness were perceived and treated like they were just like crazy, and nobody like actually listened to what they had to say. So we'd have a class discussion on that, but since it's like kind of like a mystery, I thought this would be a good book to do a lesson on like plot and like plot structure. So I would have my students do like, we would like look at like what a plot pyramid is, and then I feel like it would be fun to have them create a case file as they read. So like take note of like potential suspects, or
you
like
have such cool teacher ideas.
Yeah, wow.
Like clues, evidence,
this
and then
is the
as
job
they read,
she's prepping for.
as they read, they can kind of figure out the mystery before they get to the end. Maybe we could have like a pause point, like 5 chapters before it's over, be like, all right, final guesses, submit your case files or something.
That's very cool.
And then if it's a season 2 in October, it's kind of spooky. But it was a really good, I stayed up and read it all in one night. Like, it was so good.
I want to read this now.
That
sounds like it's
so cool. Yeah, it sounds really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen, I can't picture the cover, but maybe if I looked it up, I'd recognize it. What's it called again?
A Study in Drowning.
Oh, I shouldn't look it up because I don't want my computer to freeze. Okay, but I'm going to look it up later. Natasha, what about you? What's your October book?
Okay, so September we had Twilight. October we are going to go smack dab right at the end of Harry Potter, and we're going to do Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Okay. So again, I know this is at the end of this series, but I'm going to have the students watch the films to prep. And the reason why I picked this one is because I was thinking of my favorite ships and how I wanted my students to kind of experience this this roller coaster and possibly find different ships within books that they would think would be interesting and that they would want to explore. And I'm kind of setting them up so that they can write their own fan fiction at the end of it. So this would be mostly a month-long discussion about the different tropes and pairings in books. And we'll also be discussing, because I think this is topical, of course, because we don't want to talk about the author, but transphobia and why none of these characters were ever portrayed as the LGBTQIA, and how there's 4 and 1 usually in America that are of that community. And there's such trips as like dreary and all these different pairings that come because people wanted to see themselves represented in these books. And so I think this is like a really good starting point to get my students thinking about sexuality in books and why the representation in these like extremely popular novels was never really shown to those communities, and why fan fiction is so important to those communities so that they can find themselves in those books and also latch on and see different perspectives of people who are actually writing with those characters that have those experiences that they get to experience within these worlds that are so rich and vibrant, and they get to see themselves in those stories. So that's where we're starting in October.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah, and I think what I want them to start thinking about, and like a project I want them to do, is to set up like different little romances within the Harry Potter world and see like, a short story of what that could what that could be within the Harry Potter world. So if they like this character, then set them up with this character and then write a little story about like a meet cute or something.
That would be, nice. I feel like it would be so fun to read as a teacher, like, to see what pairings they come up with. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
There's some unhinged pairings I've seen.
Exactly. Yes.
That sounds like a hoot.
Yeah.
All right. Moving to November. Mine, like, it turns out mine is the heaviest. I feel like we're going to dive into, my sixth graders are going to dive into A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, Lord.
November is election month.
I like the theming.
Yeah.
We are going to be digging into the dark side of politics. 11-year-olds. We're going to be talking about a lot about Snow and how he became such a corrupt leader, and like why some people, like, we're going to talk about the whole conundrum of like thinking that he's hot and charismatic and how that correlates with narcissism and how that allowed his rise to power. I think it's really important to understand why, like, what the flags were that he was not a good person, and so that you have those in mind, like, moving forward. I feel like a lot of us fall into like really bad situations with narcissistic like friends or relatives because we don't know to look out for these or relationships in our futures because we're never prepped or taught about it as children. Mm-hmm. And if we were, I feel like we'd be less susceptible to those like horrible pitfalls that we end up in because we trust someone who is actually just in it for themselves. And I think that's really important. And I think Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a really fun way to dive into that subject because the Hunger Games are available via movies. So everyone kind of has a backstory of like what the world is like. Yeah. So then I'd probably have them, we're going to be like doing like a lot of group discussions and like fun little like stories. So I'll probably have them like as an assignment, write me like a little story, like they are Snow and they have what's her name as their tribute, and how Lucy, and how would they approach like helping her win the games? Like what would they do to prep her? And yeah.
That would be a cool assignment. That pretty privilege really enabled him to go dark.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's so cool. Like, because I mean, even for us watching that display on screen or reading the books, it's because you can see it in our own world too, and then you can relate it back to current events,
politics and shit. Yeah.
You could have like a mini election too in your class. That would be really cool.
God, yes. Sam coming in with the really great class ideas.
Yeah, Sam, if you have any more ideas like that, just say them.
Shout them out. That's amazing. Would have to like campaign and like see, maybe like assign them like a certain
like a
way
character
to
or something.
Yeah,
or like characteristics. Like
yes,
that would be cool.
That'd be really cool. Oh my gosh, it would be like a game of, when people get assigned like different things at like a murder mystery party, but like an election.
Yeah, and you could have like a demographic of like poor people, like poor students, and like have to take out tesserae, and then it would like take away their vote. Like, what do you want, like food or vote?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
My God,
and, like,
dark.
I don't know, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
No, thinking.
Like, no, that's really like puts them in that position and like makes them think about like what they would actually do and say, which is really interesting. Okay, cool. Sam, what's on your November?
For November, my class will be reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, because I love this book. And I feel like there's a lot of good discussions to have on, like, the importance of human connection, of course, because she lives her life alone. And then the idea of a legacy and like leaving your mark behind like is a major like plot point, I feel like, for this book. And then so The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, or Invisible. I always see Secret Life. It's the Invisible Life.
The Invisible Life of The Secret Life of Bees.
Exactly.
The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
She like makes a deal with the devil to like live forever, but no one can remember her. So then we would talk about like the pros and cons of immortality. We would like discuss like pros and cons of immortality, like what would they have to say, like there's like, you know, of course there's so many pros, like you get to live forever, but also the sacrifice, like your friends and family, having to watch them leave you. And then I feel like even in this one, it's like one step further, like no one is going to remember you. So for their book project for this book for this month would be a reflective essay, kind of putting themselves in her shoes, like what would they do if they lived forever but no one could remember them? Like, would they travel like she did, or would they try and break the curse and just like surrender?
That's
or
so
I know,
sad.
I thought it'd be interesting to see what they had to say.
Yeah. It's such a good book.
Okay, so for November, we have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. And I thought this was important. Yes.
A classic.
A classic. Because this is like, we'll get a taste of what it's like to be a fanfic writer, and why people start to write these stories and why they want to continue where the author left off, or decide that these characters would be maybe better paired for a more dynamic story in a certain way. So I kind of want my students to possibly take whatever book maybe that they read. They can also choose like one of the Harry Potters or Twilight, and take those characters and have them have like an adventure that they would think would be, or an adventure that would be like more dynamic to the story, or start with a line that they felt could be more explored. So more writing.
For December, my class, I'm starting to think like, I don't know if this is too advanced. I'm just like, I'm going to have like the AP sixth graders.
It's fantasy fangirl class. It's okay.
It's fantasy fangirl class.
These sixth graders, they're prepared.
You were in a private
everything.
School that has prepared them.
They're all like me in sixth grade. They all loved reading. And all were eager to learn. Advanced English in sixth grade was called GATE for Nicole. Mine was just called honors. English honors. Gifted and talented. Oh, that's okay. We just didn't call it. We just called it gifted and talented. What's the E stand for? Education? Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, we're going to read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. This is such a beautiful, fun love story that also makes you think about so many different things. So if anyone doesn't know, it takes place over the course of 24 hours. Our lead girl, her parents have come over from Jamaica and they are getting deported the next day. So she's going to have to move, and she's trying to do whatever she can to stop them from having to move. So she's going to New York City to talk to like this Hail Mary play, to talk to this lawyer that she's hoping can like get them somehow out of this deportation situation so she doesn't have to move. And then our other lead, he has this really huge college interview, and his parents are immigrants from, I think, Korea. And they have their own store. He doesn't want to work in that store. And he's just got a lot of like mental hoops to work through because he wants to do his parents proud and they want him to go to college, this specific college, but it isn't exactly what he wants to do. And he runs into this girl in New York City and they end up falling in love over the course of this day. And they kind of like between their different errands are just like hanging out with each other and talking about the science of love and falling in love. And he comes with her to try to, you know, go to this lawyer, and she comes with him to go like see his parents. And it's just really, really beautiful and really, really cute. And what I extra love about it is in between their chapters, there's like 1-page chapters from the perspective of just someone in their vicinity. And it really makes you think about how your actions have an impact on just like any random person going about their day around you, and how it can really change their life, like treating people with kindness. And it's just really, really beautiful. And so we would obviously talk about all those different aspects. I feel like we'd have a big class discussion on it, and maybe I'd have them like interview like an immigrant in their life, like someone who wasn't born in the United States that lives here. Because
that would be really cool.
That was like, I think one of my teachers had us do that, and it was a really like eye-opening project, because you don't think about that as a kid. If you were just born here, like you have to be opened up. It's
the only perspective you've ever known.
Yeah, it's the only thing you've ever known. So I think that'd be fun. And we need to read a romance in 6th grade. Like, we need to read books that are romantic and normalize romance as not something that just fucking girls read, and that it's not like bad writing. Like, there's just this preconceived notion that anything with romance is just a piece of shit, when like romance is such a big part of our everyday life, and it's just because women like it, and it's so annoying.
Well, I've heard so many arguments that romance is one of the hardest things to write, because you are putting together a story that has been done multiple times, but you have to craft it in a way where it's new and fresh. And so romance authors really have one of the hardest jobs, because they have to create these stories where ultimately the end of the book is 2 characters fall in love, and you have to get people to constantly have these feelings and emotions about it and enjoy it when it's the same plot over and over and over again. It's so hard to keep doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that like, but every trope has that same thing, like where you're trying to be original in a trope that's been obviously done before lots of times, but it's always, but no, I mean, you have to, create a love story that's believable, even though you've seen it time and time again, in a new way, which is such a fun challenge.
And I feel like it's also important, like middle schoolers are at that age where like you are thinking about dating and like boyfriends and girlfriends and kissing or hand holding, and seeing like representations of that in media or like books that they're getting at school too.
Like good representations of it.
Yeah. Like,
and this is how we teach young boys how to treat women.
Exactly. Like, I think that's a really good idea. Like, they should incorporate appropriate romance novels in middle school, because I feel like that's like the foundation of like how they're going to treat each other later in life.
Yeah, and there's this like overwhelming theme running through it about love and like the science of it. And I think that's so fascinating to talk to, especially with youths who are like really thinking about falling in love for the first time. Yeah. What about you, Sam?
All right. So for December, we're going dystopian. We're going Divergent.
Oh, nice. I was hoping someone had Divergent.
This was just another book that I feel like as a fangirl, like changed my life. Like I put like posters like of these characters, like when the movie was coming out, like all over my room. And I read this book constantly, like over and over and over again. And so I had to add it to my list. My class has to read it. And so I feel like we could talk about dystopian societies, like utopias, dystopias, like how utopias are kind of dystopias. And then pros and cons of advancing technology, because they get into some pretty crazy stuff in this book, like with the serums and like the fear simulations. Like, of course, like new advancing technology is great, and like the fact that it can like save so many lives and like help us and help our planet, but it's also kind of scary. And then another thing, a big theme I think, is like the power of choice in this book. Like even though they take, and I feel like this would be fun to do with my class too, like have them take an aptitude test and like be assigned a faction, but then having a ceremony where they get to choose. Like, just because I was told,
cool, Sam.
just because I was told I'm Candor, I want to be Dauntless or whatever, and like let them pick.
Yeah.
And then for their project, I would have them create a new faction. And so like what is a trait that they value, and like what would that faction like believe, like what they uphold.
I want to be in your English class.
I thought it'd be cool, like take it a step further and like think about what that new faction's initiation would be like, because they're also different. Like Dauntless, like you could literally die, and like Candor, you could like spill your guts, like all your biggest secrets, and like what would their initiation process look like, and then having like them choose their symbol, like fire for Dauntless, and like glass, you know, for I think it's glass, right, and water,
I think,
and stones, I think are all of the ones. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Soil.
It's been a while.
And so having them pick one and like the reasoning behind it, I think it would be fun. I feel like people would enjoy doing that.
Yeah. No, I would love that. What about you, Natasha?
So
What's your
cool.
December lesson?
December is, spoiler alert, by Olivia Dade. So this is an adult romance, okay? But give me a break. This book is about how she is a fan fiction writer, but she's also a cosplayer, and she's plus size. And she gets a lot of hate online for cosplaying a character who is not normally fat character. And she has an online friend who's also writing another really popular fan fiction, who is rewriting the end of this like very popular fantasy TV series, think Game of Thrones. And turns out he's actually one of the actors in the series. So I thought this would be like a great example of a fanfic writer wanting to change the outcome of a very popular story because they were very unhappy with it. And this is also a really great example of body representation in stories and movies and TV shows, and how I would kind of get my students to start thinking about how they could change something that they've, you know, it could probably be like a Disney movie of an outcome of something that they've watched from their childhood till now, and how they would change the outcome of that if they didn't like it. And then I think I would do a class project where I would put them into groups and have them recast themselves in like a Disney movie or something, and see like,
that's
you
so
know,
fun.
Yeah, and see like how they would portray those characters, and then do like a little scene and present it to the class.
Oh my gosh, I used to
That
love
would be
doing
so
the
cool.
scenes.
Yeah.
Me too. Like filming a 2-minute video with your friends.
Yes. Exactly.
That would be so. I'm like trying to think like on the spot like what I would change like about a Disney movie.
I would make it so Ariel can talk.
Yes.
My mind went straight to the Lion King. I was like, no, he's not gonna die. I'm gonna save him.
Oh my god, yes.
Scar's going over that cliff.
I would be like, I want to make it so Titanic doesn't sink. Does this count as a Disney movie?
Yeah, no, that works too. Katie says Wendy never grows up, LOL. I would make it so that the beast doesn't turn into the prince and he just stays the beast.
That's a good one. Because the ending of that movie was jarring.
Oh my god.
Seeing human him, I was like, oh no.
No. I feel like he would turn into the human who's like, nah, I like my beast form, and then turn back.
All right.
January,
I'm going utopian, dystopian. We are doing the Scythe series. I have so much to say about the Scythe series, and would be so excited to teach this series. So, like, I'm just going to do January, February together. We're doing Scythe and Thunderhead. And Scythe just has so many fascinating things to say about society and living forever, because in Scythe, if you don't know, we have reached a point where like we know how to heal anything with like nanotech. And so people don't die. What they do is like age however much they want to age, and then they can quote turn a corner and rewind to whatever age they want up to age 21. And so it changes the way you live in so many different ways because there is no suffering. Like art doesn't really make sense to people anymore. And like there is no art that is powerful because the human experience has become so mellow because we can fix anything and everything. And the only threats to society really are scythes. They have to hire people to kill people to keep the population down. And when those people are killed, you can't bring them back. Like they can't be resuscitated. And these scythes are like majorly overpowered in a way. Like it's so easy to become corrupt if you're a scythe because you have the power to play God, basically. And so that is like such an interesting thing to explore thematically, like how power corrupts and even this most sacred of jobs has become corrupted. It's so interesting to talk about. Like for fun, kids will like do stuff that's so dangerous because
isn't it called, like, it's like splat. Is it splatting?
Yeah, where they like will die and they'll just be resuscitated. The art thing, and then there's so much to say about like how society and religion work together to create like the environment we're in, and how like we really delve into this really fascinating cycle about science and religion and how do they feed into each other, and how like first we had religion and then science got so advanced that it basically became a religion, and then the circle just went all the way back around where we were like the AI became God, and then like the whole cycle repeated itself. Like there became different factions. It's so endlessly fascinating. I would have so many like they're sixth graders, so I don't know how many like essays I can make them write on like these different topics, but I used to love writing essays on these different topics, and I used to love like learning about things like this, about how like the different correlations of like the religion in our society and the way that we think about normal things and how it's rooted in religion, and this kind of like backtracks it. Like scythe, we go backwards from science to religion. It's so fascinating. Anyway, so I would teach this and have the best time, and I think the kids would have a great time too because the books are so good, and like you're on your edge of the edge of your seat the entire time. And
I also feel like you could talk about like how scythes are like chosen. Like they're not. Yes. You don't get like you don't have a choice. Like even if you don't want to do that, like you have to do it.
You have to. Yeah.
Like that like loss of like freedom, I guess.
Yeah, the loss of free will in that respect.
Like you have to kill people
when you have so much free will before that to do literally anything. And like the idea of unsavories, and what makes you an unsavory. And so come like Thunderhead, at the end of Thunderhead, like everyone can just talk to the AI all the time. It's just like there, like it's like Siri or Alexa, but it's like in your head. And like at one point they're all cut off from the AI. They all become unsavory. So it's like they're all except one guy who can talk to basically God. And that guy is like the Jesus now. And like everyone else is like after Eve has bitten the apple, like, you know, like they have original sin and they're unsavory and they can't talk. It's so fascinating. There's so much to dig into there. And I know it gets like a little religious, but I feel like we're talking about it from like an objective point of view because it is such a popular text that is still very much ingrained in a lot of our society.
Yeah, that Scythe was on my list up until like last night. I was like, this is such a good book to teach in schools.
Yeah, it is. It really is. There's so many things to talk about. And like what gives life meaning, and like is it meaningful if there is no end?
Yeah. I also think it's crazy that like even though they have this ultimate power, it's like almost completely unregulated. Like they can like kill people however they want, even if it's like terrible.
Horrible. Yeah. Like this is like a dream job for a fucking serial killer. And like if you haven't read it, there's also makes it
scary.
Yeah, scary and so fascinating, like endlessly the different things that like these scythes do. Like there's one scythe that likes to fucking kill by genocide basically, and it's horrifying, and like he becomes so corrupt
and like terrifyingly like bringing down a plane or something. It's like
it's horrifying.
Yeah, it's like The Boys meets it's like someone who has that much power.
I mean, The Boys deals with similar themes. Definitely, they're like unregulated power, and how that affects society.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what is your January book, Sam?
For January, we are diving into a journey story. We're going into The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which I love this book. I got it from a friend in high school, like I think like my junior or senior year, and I am obsessed. I'm like scared to recommend it because I love it so much, but it's an unfinished series.
Yeah.
They never finished it?
No, it's like the last book was written like 10 years ago or something, and the author, he's still around. Like he goes to like PAX West, like, and he does like
D&D.
Yeah, he does video game stuff and like game stuff, but he has not written the third book in the trilogy.
Wow.
So the story is told over 3 days, and we have days 1 and 2. So we would be covering The Name of the Wind, the first book, which is, so it's like a story kind of told within a story. And so I'm like trying to figure out how to describe it because I don't want to spoil it. But so like you like walk into like this like tavern, and like the tavern owner is like the main character, and like this like chronicler, like he records everyone's stories. It's like, tell me yours. And he's like, okay, it's gonna take me 3 days. And he goes all the way back starting in his childhood, and it's like set in this like high fantasy world where there's like magic, and there's like the bad guys like come and like, I can't remember the bad guy's name, like the Chandrian, I think, come and like murder his whole, he's in a troupe. Sorry, I'm like scatterbrained. This book has so many details. It's such a big, complex book.
And you know, like, we've heard so much about it, but I don't think I've ever even looked at the summary because I know it's like something that I could possibly want to read.
Oh, it's so fantastic. So it like goes into like the power of knowledge, the importance of storytelling and like story keeping, and like music. It plays a huge role in it. And so the strategy for this book we're going to be doing is called literature circles, which is super, super common in like classrooms, real life classrooms, where students are divided into small groups and they are assigned a role. And so there's like discussion directors, creative connectors, events evaluators, spotlight seekers, and an artistic role too. And every week it rotates, so every student gets a chance to do it. But they would meet at the end of every week and have this discussion, kind of like a book talk with their group. So as they like kind of break into like this super complex story, they can like chat about it. And like, I feel like the reason why I turned to YouTube and like book talks was to talk to someone about it and like kind of like reflect deeper on a story I read, having like someone else tell me their stories or their opinions on the story. So this would be like doing that in the classroom, like them having their little book talks every week and hearing what they have to say. But yeah, 10 out of 10 book. And the second one's also really good, but don't get your hopes up for that last one.
It's so sad. I feel like Patrick Rothfuss is one of those authors that people write like TV shows about, like, where's your book?
I mean, just like George R. R. Martin.
Oh, same, yeah.
Yeah, like not finishing the series because there's just overwhelming pressure that like F's with your mental health and your ability to like actually finish it.
Yeah, he said that. He said like he has like a draft or something for the third book, but it's so hyped now and he feels like it has to be like perfect. So he's just constantly editing it. I check his Twitter constantly for updates.
I mean, if he has a draft, I have hope that he'll actually finish it someday.
Yeah.
Because the draft is the hardest part.
The audiobook is really good too if you want to try it out. It's super long. It's like 29 hours though.
I definitely read the first chapter of this book. Like I had it on my iPad for a while. And I had the book. I don't know if I donated it because I wasn't reading it, but like I had the book on my shelf for a really long time. I wanted to read it. Maybe. I wonder if it's because I found out that the third one was like never come. Yeah.
Puts you off kind of.
Yeah. I think it's still worth reading, but then you're just going to be like in this pit of despair like everybody else who's read it.
Katie says not me tearing up over here because Sam is going to make so many students fall in love with reading.
So sweet.
Oh.
I'm going to try my best. That's why I want to teach elementary is like getting them, I'm going to like not indoctrinate them.
But like the foundations.
Yeah, like teaching them how to read, the importance of it, and like the beauty of it.
Yeah, the
like,
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so essential. I feel like that foundation brings so much magic into your life as a child. Natasha, what's your January book?
January is a book that I actually haven't read, but I plan to, and it's Ship It by Britta London, and this was like very popular when we were doing BookTube back in the day. But this book is essentially about a character who writes a very popular fan fiction about a character's sexual orientation on a paranormal TV show like Supernatural, and how she talks to one of the main actors, and he kind of just scoffs at the fact that she thinks that his character is gay. And then it starts a whole thing. But I think we're going to jump back into the whole sexual orientation and how that can be interpreted differently by many people, which is, again, why fan fiction is so important to explore the characteristics, because there's not enough representation about LGBTQ plus communities. But I think what I want my students to do is think about like different TV shows that like have run for like a very, very long time, because this is essentially comes from like the Supernatural fandom, and I kind of want to teach them about different fandoms that like the what ifs of the characters from those TV shows, and how even if you don't have a book that starts off someone's interest in writing fan fiction, you can still have like a TV show or something, and that's like a whole different side of fan fiction, because you never really had like the Twilights, the Harry Potters, the Lord of the Rings, but you do have this rich storytelling from a TV show perspective, and how fan fiction can be just as popular within that community and within that sort of form of storytelling.
For February, we're doing another like high fantasy. We're doing Crescent City, which I know is like it's like more adult, but they're like 16. They can handle it. They can handle it.
It's a challenge.
And, I thought this would be. Yeah, they need to read a little bit above their grade level. They're fine. But I thought this would be a good book to talk about the different subgenres of fantasy, like how this one's contemporary fantasy. Like it's a super high fantasy world, but with like cell phones and like partying and like things that they can identify with, because it's like kind of like reality TV
modern,
is like what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's modern. And then I thought that their book project for this one, as they read, they could create a story map, because again, it's another like complex story where there's so much happening, there's so many characters to keep track of, and I have an example. But like they could like create a story map, so they would like kind of like plot out all the characters.
Wow.
And then all of like the
we
problems,
used to
the events,
do these
the outcomes.
things.
Yeah. And that way they can reference it and go back and be like, wait, who was that? What did Danica do? Like,
yeah, it's like how to take notes when you're reading, basically. Yeah.
So that they don't have to like keep going back and rereading. They can just check their story map and be like, I remember everything that happens. And I think it's just a good book to engage with that like audience, because they're like the perfect age, I feel like.
Yeah. Because, we love to read about people like a little bit older than us, like know what's coming, I feel like. And the experiences that Bryce is talking about, like post-college and like this partying life and like living with your friends, are all things that are like on the horizon, which is so fun.
Yeah. Gaten, damn, I could write a whole essay on what did Danica do.
For real.
I write a book on what did Danica do.
She did everything.
Oh my God. Natasha, what's your February?
Okay, so February we're going to do something a little different, since we now have kind of like this background, and I want my students to break off into groups, and they're going to choose a book to read together that was a popular fanfic story, but which is now published. So something like City of Bones, which is, not technically. They could even pick 50 Shades of Grey if they wanted to. After by Anna Todd, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, Bridget Jones' Diary, any of the classic kind of remakes, those types of retellings, stories. And then they're going to come together and read the book together, and then do a presentation on what they like versus what they disliked about the source material versus now the published work, and all the different facets and things that come with it. If they liked one better, if they like this one better, that. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like that they can pick the book they want. They're not just being assigned something,
Yeah, that's always really fun when you're in school.
Yeah.
What do you mean I get to pick?
Yep.
So much freedom. Nice. Okay, I'm going to do my April, May together.
Oh, April.
Oh, fuck.
What's March?
I forgot about March. All right, I'll do March first. So March, we're doing Percy Jackson. And compared to the other ones, Percy Jackson feels very light.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a chapter on Greek mythology, and we're going to do that alongside Percy Jackson, and maybe I'll have them read the first, and I feel we could do 2 books in a month of Percy Jackson, they're short and sweet. And we're going to talk about the different gods and goddesses, and we could relate that back to how religion plays a part in every society that we just talked about in Scythe and Thunderhead. So I think that'll be really interesting. Maybe for I'll have them talk about what cabin, they'll do a little presentation about what cabin they think that they're in, and if there isn't a cabin for them, what kind of god or goddess would be the head of their cabin that they would make.
That'd be cool.
So I think that'd be fun. Yeah, so Percy Jackson month would be a really fun, lighthearted in between month there. What about y'all? March? March, Sam.
I'm also lightening it up a little bit with a romantasy called The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon.
I've heard of it.
I just picked this up randomly. I hadn't heard of it. I picked it up randomly last year at the bookstore because it looked spooky, kind of.
It had a good cover.
Yeah, and it's about so Mercy, she works at her family's business, and they're they take care of dead bodies. What is that called?
Morgue. A mortician.
Yeah, she's a mortician. And then there's this guy who's always bringing her bodies. He's a cowboy. I forget what they call it in the book. He goes and kills. They call him
bounty
drudges.
hunter or something.
He kills drudges, but they're zombies. And
wait a minute, what is the book called?
The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy.
Okay, this sounds like a.
And his last name is, I think he goes by his. I don't remember if his last name is Hart, and then her name is Mercy.
Okay,
and they
so
have this
the cover.
Yeah,
title.
So they work together, but they don't like each other. So I thought we could do a lesson on the appeal of enemies to lovers, and why we find that trope, at least me, find that trope so addicting.
Yeah,
it's so fun to read. And then there's also an aspect of family expectations, because Mercy is working at her father's business, and it's supposed to go down to her brother, but her brother does not want to do that. He gets really grossed out by dead bodies, and she wants the business to go to her, but she's it's not supposed to go to her, it's supposed to go to her brother, and she has they both have to kind of deal with the expectations of their dad. So we could talk about that. And then for their book project, this book kind of has a You've Got Mail spin on it, where Heart and Mercy are unknowingly pen pals with each other, and they're writing each other these letters.
That. Oh, cute.
And it's amazing. It is incredible. And so I thought for our book project we could pen our own love letters to our book boyfriends.
So cute.
And then they could pick whoever, any characters from books we'd read before, and like on the syllabus, or their own personal book boyfriends.
I love that.
That's really cute.
What about you, Natasha?
March is going to be Jane Austen month.
Oh.
We are going to read Emma by Jane Austen because it's one of, I guess, the most adapted books and retold stories. Was there just a movie that just came out that was an Emma retelling?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe
well,
it
there was the
one.
Emma retelling that came out that is Emma in 2020.
Yeah. I feel like there was something else. Anyways, so like we're going to talk about Emma and all the movies that it inspired. So we'll start with Clueless, and then we'll also do like some Pride and Prejudice, watch Bridget Jones' Diary, which is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, even talk about how Twilight has a few nods to Pride and Prejudice because Bella is very much a Lizzie Bennet. And even like the Lizzie Bennet diaries on YouTube. So stuff like that. We're going to be discussing Emma and go more into the classics, and why, I guess, I didn't really write too much about this, but there could be so much that we could discuss. But like why these old classics have inspired so much work now, and it's because I think people love the bones of these stories and that they want to see these characters in different light, doing different things, doing something in modern day times. And so I think possibly I could have students pick a classic book, and not like rewrite it at all, but talk about like what time period that they would want to see a book portrayed in nowadays. So maybe something like in the 80s or in the 50s or in the 2000s or something in the future. So
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So weird. I'm having like a weird like reflective moment thinking about how I've kind of like had like my fangirl English class through all my book talks through the years. Like I've talked about all these things that I want to talk about through all those book talks, and like talked about it in person with everyone at different events, and it's been so interesting. So my April, May, I'm going to do together for time purposes here. Geekarella, like is much like my way of incorporating like Natasha's whole course for sixth graders. Like an introduction to like fandom and the role that plays in connecting people in from different facets of life in like these ways that are so strong and heartwarming. So if you don't know, Geekarella is about a girl who writes, I think she writes fanfic for like a Star Trek like show, and the show is coming back for a reboot, and she writes something on the message boards and about how the actor is like unfit to play the lead in the reboot. Like he's not good for the role. And then that actor ends up talking to her over text message, but like she doesn't know it's him. And they kind of like fall in love and agree to meet at a con, and like they're going to meet at the ball at the con. And like, it's like very Cinderella-y. And he's wearing a mask or something, and she finds out it's him before. It's really fun. And it's a really like heartwarming fandom story. And her parents like met at a con years ago, and it's really, really cute. And anyway, highly recommend Geekarella.
I looked into this one and I was like, oh, it doesn't have any fanfic things, but it is like the fandom funness.
Geekarella?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have fanfic. She writes fanfiction about the
show,
does? I think.
Oh, yeah. I thought so. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. I'm glad you put it on your list.
Yeah, it's by Ashley Poston. It's very cute, and it's very like fun, quick read, and like I think it's like it's clean enough that I think I can get it into a middle school. Like, and then for May, we're gonna be diving into mental health with Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. If anyone hasn't read Turtles All the Way Down, the lead character is a young girl who has she's dealing with OCD, and she's a very intense hypochondriac, and we really delve into like how it's affecting like the people around her and her own health and like her fears about it and getting it under control and all those different things that like we never talked about when I was in school that I think are so important to be aware of, because again, we find ourselves in this situation, but we don't know what's wrong with us. We have no idea why we're acting like this, why we can't stop doing it, because no one ever taught us about it. And I feel like that should be in the curriculum, like learning about mental health and the different things that we could see come up in our own lives, that if we were made aware of them, we could check them sooner before we have a complete breakdown. Like, yeah. And turtles all the way down. It's just like, that's one that like made me feel seen in a lot of different ways that I had never felt seen in literature before. And if I had read it earlier, I would have like known what names to put to different things that I was experiencing that I never knew to put names to.
Yeah. I feel like with schools these days, like at least what I'm learning in school is like we're putting a bigger emphasis on social and emotional learning. Like SEL is like becoming way more incorporated to curriculum.
Oh wow.
So hopefully students in the future will get that representation that they need.
Education.
Sam, do you want to give us a rundown of your April-May?
Yeah, my April-May. So we're taking it back to the classics. I got Percy Jackson on here for April. I know it's a little bit young for 10th graders, but I don't care. I'll read these books till I'm like 90. So yeah, a lesson on Greek mythology, and then I thought it'd be cool to do a Who is Your Godly Parent quiz. Like, find out who it is.
Yeah.
And then for their book project, have them create their own god.
Oh, nice.
Based off like the books or the gods that are in the book.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be cool, like a god of like laughter or something, or goddess. Like,
and then you can like modernize them like they do in the books.
Yeah, and make them like funny. Like what would they look like? Draw pictures.
Yeah.
And then May, another classic, Twilight. I feel like we're getting to the end of the year. We need to get to Twilight. I thought we could do a book versus movie, compare and contrast like the differences, and like do like a character study, because the characters I feel like are so different from book to movie. Not so different,
but different enough. Yeah.
Different enough to like notice. And then I thought it'd be really fun, since Twilight characters like are so, I feel like, well known by its fans
universally. Yeah.
They could create a like funny PowerPoint presentation, like character study. So like, have you guys seen those like on TikTok where people do like,
I have seen
like PowerPoint presentations, like parties.
Yes.
So I thought that they could do that, like the Twilight characters like as dog breeds, or Twilight characters as like Taylor Swift songs, and like they'd have to like justify it too, you know? I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'm going to pair May and June instead.
Okay.
April is going to be their first fanfic. So they are going to read Manacled by Sin Lin Yu. And this is a very long, very heavy, very dark fan fiction story, which is a Harry Potter Hermione fan fiction that meets The Handmaid's Tale. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And it's so good. It's so well done.
It's incredible. It's amazing.
And I like kind of like, I just want them to finally open up like their minds to the world of fan fiction, because this is it. Like, this is what fan fiction is all about, is a retelling of the end of a story in a different world, taking characters together, pairing them together, killing off important characters and how that makes you feel. And also combining it with a classic novel, which is a very interesting take. But that's going to be their April, and it's going to be a doozy. And I feel like we're just going to have a lot of discussions about it. And at the very end of the month, I'm going to assign them that they have 2 months until they can turn in their like fanfic story for me to read. And yeah.
That would be, I would die if we got assigned that. I would be so excited.
Yes.
All right, I'll wrap up my lesson here. In June, we are going to end on a really light, fun note that encourages adventure and travel, and that is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. Yay. We are going to, again, do a really fun, lighthearted romance. It's about traveling to another country, which, like, when you're this young, again, unless, like, you have very, like, travel-y parents, you really haven't even thought about that and the how different it is in a different country. And Anna and the French Kiss is a really nice, easy into, like, different cultures and different traditions and different ways that people think and work. And it's so cozy, Katie just said. It's just such a nice way to end, I feel like, the year. And I'd probably have them, like, make a presentation about, like, somewhere they really want to travel to in the world. So they'd have to, like, kind of think about where they would want to go, because, again, I don't think we think about it that much at age 11.
Yeah.
And, like,
make a research project.
Yeah, and write up, like, where they'd want to travel to and, like, maybe when they'd want to go and all that stuff and why. Yeah. It'd be fun.
I want to go to Paris to fall in love and meet
Just like
St. Clair.
Anna.
I'm going to go to Greece and have my Mamma Mia moment.
Yes.
What's the end of your year look like, Sam?
Also, ending it nice, light, and fluffy. We're doing we finally, like, after Twilight, we're making our way to our first fan fiction, and we're doing Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love. It is so light and fluffy. It's really long, but they can get through it. It is so cute, and I thought this would be a good, like, way to, like, get them into talking about, like, fan culture and, like, the significance of fan fiction to fangirls, fandoms. And like Natasha's been saying, like, this whole episode, like, being able to, like, when the story is done, like, when the canon story is done, being able to take your favorite characters and pair them up in new ways, put them in different stories, like, do whatever you want with them, just, like, expands the creativity and, like, the life of these characters. And then fan fiction, like, posting it for other people to read and engage with, enhances their experience of these characters as well. So for their book project, students are going to write their own fan fiction, and they can use any of the books that we read from this year. And then I hope they fall in love with Hermione, just like me.
Katie's traumatized from having to write Bible fan fiction in Catholic school.
What? Oh my god.
Okay, what did you write though, Katie?
What was your fan fiction?
Who is Jesus getting with?
She wrote about Ruth. Moving on. Okay, so my May and June, we are finishing out with the Raylo part of the fanfic course. So I'm going to have them read Landscape with the Blur of Conquerors by Disasterism, and then her published work, which is Hurricane Wars. And this is, like, such a good example of taking characters that are from a movie, not even from, the written work, and making them fall in love with each other and the different possibilities, but also, like, what the publishing industry does to fan fiction and how it can change, maybe if you loved one versus not liking the other. So I think since Hurricane Wars is only, like, the first, maybe, like, fourth of the book, I'm going to have them read, like, the first half of the fanfic. And then June, we're going to read Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And I think this is such a good example of taking your characters outside of their canon world and putting them in our world and how they would interact, and literally just taking the bare bones of these characters and making them into a love story. And it's going to be light and fluffy for the last month before they graduate, and at the very end they're going to turn in their fan fiction for me to read, and they will be posting it. So
to the internet.
That would be so
to the
cool.
internet. Yes.
Nice. Nice. Are they going to workshop it through the month? I guess so.
Yeah, they'll be workshopping it through the month because I don't have any like thing for them to do like any assignments during these last 2 months.
The Love Hypothesis was like my gateway into Raylo fan fiction. Like I read it and I loved it, and someone told me that was like, oh, that's Raylo fan fiction that got published, and I was like, all right, let me just hop on, look some up. And it's great.
I would be very, very interested to see like what pairings that this whole course makes them start to explore and read about, and if it's very different from what I told them to read, or like any other shows that they're interested. I think like I will be telling them, you know, to continue to explore that realm and see like what they like.
Cool. Yeah. Wow, those are our dream English course syllabuses. That was really interesting. I feel like it just makes you think about these things in a new way, how you would like teach it, which is really fun. We're going to, I think, not end up doing what right now this episode because that ran pretty long. But we're going to wrap up with a Merry Kiss Cliff. All right, Sam has a Merry Kiss Cliff for us today. What is it?
All right, I went with Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus.
Ooh.
Miss Honey from Matilda.
Matilda.
Oh, wow.
And Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter.
Oh my God.
Wait,
teacher theme.
So Miss Frizzle, the Matilda
Professor
teacher.
McGonagall. Yeah, Miss Honey.
I don't know the Matilda teacher very well.
She is the best. She's so sweet. That's why her name's Miss Honey. Okay, I am gonna marry Miss Honey. She's also really hot. I am going to, I guess, kiss Professor McGonagall. She seems really old for me, but I do think she's a great teacher. I'm gonna have to cliff Miss Frizzle because she just doesn't hold up for me against the other two, even though she's a great teacher. Like, McGonagall is legendary and Miss Honey is my wife, so sorry, Miss Frizzle.
I think I'm going to marry Miss Frizzle because she's got amazing style. And
she's a fashion icon.
She is a fashion icon. And I can make her a bunch of fun outfits.
Katie said that Miss Frizzle can survive a cliffing. She's a flying school bus.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I chose her. She'll survive the fall.
I think. Oh,
I'm not done. And then so I married Miss Frizzle. I'm going to kiss Miss Honey because she looks hot, and McGonagall can fly off the cliff with her broom. I'm sorry.
You make her sound like the Wicked Witch.
She could probably survive that too.
Yeah.
She turned into a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, land on her feet.
Land on her feet. What about you?
I think I am also going to marry Miss Honey because I love her house and I love her and she is so hot.
Yes.
And she's so sweet.
Yes.
And then I think I'm gonna kiss Miss Frizzle because I just love her. Like, I love her vibe. Like, she's so quirky and I feel like creative. She's always getting those kids out of the school onto her bus.
Out of the classroom.
Going on an adventure. And I'm gonna cliff McGonagall because she's had her reign as a teacher. She's beloved. She can go.
Cliffings of McGonagall, so sad. But yeah, I used to fucking love the Magic School Bus. Like, we got to do so many fun things, like go to Pluto. I'll never forget that Pluto episode. I was scarred when he took off his helmet and he froze to death. Do you guys remember that? No.
I remember the one when they went inside the human body.
Oh, I remember that one too. That one freaked me out.
That one I was like, I can't be a doctor.
That freaked me out. No, they go to the Pluto and the one kid takes off his helmet and freezes. Like, he just turns into ice.
Wow.
And I was like, why would you take off your helmet? So stupid.
Did he survive? I don't remember.
I mean, it's a cartoon, so I think he like gets put in the bus and defrost, but like, that was scary.
Your fear of space began then.
Probably, honestly. And my fear of the human body. They also go to the dinosaurs, I feel like, in one episode, which is really cool too. But yeah, Miss Frizzle, good times. All right. That is going to be our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us, Sam. This was so fun and so interesting.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
It was so fun.
I'm glad.
Coming up with my syllabus.
I'm glad. Your syllabus was amazing. So excited for all the teaching you're going to go do out in the world. And Stas is here. Okay, the podcast comes out every Friday. If y'all don't know, it is edited by Jake Needham, Alex Polis, and Ricky McBrayer. The music is by Cole Jenkins. Vocals are by Heather Traska. We are on Instagram at Those Forking Fangirls. All our links and links to find Sam. Oh, Sam, where can we find you on the internet?
I'm actually pretty private on the internet.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah, I'm not a big social media girl. You know how it's like ruining young people's lives.
Yeah.
So,
well, you won't be able to find
handles for
Sam
me.
on the internet. I'm sorry, but she'll be in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. You can find me on the Patreon. Come hang out with me in the Zoom sessions.
Yeah. Yes.
Come hang out with Katie.
Yes. If you are interested in becoming a patron, the link is in the show notes. Patreon.com/those4kingfangirls. And if you are a Patreon, Fangirl Tea Time will be starting soon. We're off to go record that. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm Christine.
I'm Natasha. I'm Sam.
Sam.
Oh, and I'm Sam. Sorry. I'm so used to listening to the outro.
Bye. Bye.